President Goslin?
Here.
There is a quorum. Minutes of the previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the April 5, 2016 Town Council meeting are hereby accepted.
Move the resolution.
Moving second, any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Moving second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The licenses that were just approved was Rhode Island Chapter of Pink Heels, Refocus Inc., West Warwick Elks Club, Friends of West Warwick Public Library, Your Family Convenience Store, Unique Fitness, Flori Bella Salon, The Perfect Puppy, Realty A Games, Hawkers and Peddlers License, Frisky Fries, Michael D. Reed Jr., Championship Melt, Kennel License Renewal, Pamela and Frank Zales, Business Renewals, Hawkers and Peddlers Renewals, just see attachments. They've all been approved. There's 87 pages.
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Moved and second, any discussion?
From the Housing Authority.
There's a couple of letters in here.
Is there a pattern with the Board of Tenant Affairs here?
Board of Tenant Affairs, we can get into it later on in the agenda. I can go over what's going on there and why they're resigning. I met with a few of them at Jared Noon's fundraiser, and they told me what was going on, so. Also, I do have a question. Timmy and Fred, where do we stand on the Veterans Liaison? I haven't heard anything.
Mr. President, we have a proposed coordinator application, and we've also been working with the Veterans Count people and also the people at the state. The only thing the council is going to have to affirm, and I believe we can do that by taking a copy of what the state has proposed as to the actual job description of the position, but everything else is ready to roll. So I don't know if you wanted, there's two questions that we had originally addressed, whether or not it was going to be resolution, ordinance, or this was going to be part of the home rule charter. Since the issue for the charter has passed for this particular year, the council's going to have to decide whether or not the position is going to be by resolution or by ordinance, but whatever the council's pleasure is, but it's ready to roll.
Okay. Next agenda is going to be the financial town meeting, so if we can have it on the first meeting in June.
There'll also be a meeting the week after the vote, because we have to,
Set the levy and all.
yeah, we have to finalize that approval, so you could do it then, or just wait for the following week, either way. It's up to you.
Doesn't, either way, it doesn't
June
matter.
1st?
June 7th?
What is it? We were talking about the 24th for the finalizing the budget.
Right.
Finalizing the budget, I understand that, but the liaison, do we want to put it on there? Because that's just the finalization of the budget.
Yep.
So I'd rather have it on a regular council meeting, that way there people can attend.
Ian, if I could just have some input from the council, I've always referred to this as Military Veterans Affairs Coordinator. If you want a different name, I don't know if you want liaison, but I've had,
What was it called at the state level?
Or Veterans Advocate is
there's
another
advocate,
thing.
there's different names, but I don't know if you had any particular, you know,
I would put it as a liaison.
but the only problem is liaison to whom or to what?
Well, it's an appointment by the town council.
So to state
Well,
and
I
federal.
mean, it's not, the veterans have their own veterans council. It has nothing to do with a veterans council.
Right,
It's-
but do you want to be it called Veterans Liaison or Veterans Affairs Liaison? I don't know where you want me to put liaison into the,
Liaison implies that they work with the council and they work
Right.
with this council
all right, then what do you want to
And the
call it?
state,
and the state.
yeah, and the State Office of
then?
Veterans.
Veterans Affairs Liaison?
Liaison.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
That's all I had.
Amplifier, loudspeaker, and theatrical permit.
Actually,
Resolved
I just got to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
No.
That was correspondence.
Sorry, amplifier, loudspeaker, and theatrical permit. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the following application. Norman and Heidi LeGault, 25 Kinney Street, June 18th.
Kinney.
Kinney, okay, June 18th, 2016, 4:30 PM to 12, and that should be AM.
And there's another typo there too. It's also, it's going to be 28 Kinney Street,
Okay,
and it's 4:30 PM to 12 AM.
right.
I'll move the resolution
As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Rhode Island Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program, sponsored by Council President Goslin. And do you want me to read this?
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor to waive the reading?
Aye. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Discussion, Elaine, how are you?
Fine, and yourself?
Good.
So this is just the annual application for CDBG. The only change from previous years is we're applying for the human services portion under a pre-agreement request, which means if it's funded, we will modify our 2015 grant because we did not receive funding for human services. So the senior center will be allowed to use that money for previous expenses as opposed to expenses in the next fiscal year. But they will not be receiving anything for the forthcoming year. It will just be for the prior, if it's funded.
That was as a result of our going back to them, sitting down with them, saying, because they budgeted for it,
Yeah, right,
what could we
exactly.
do? And that was the
So
solution that
prepare
they
for
came
when
up
you
with.
get
Yeah.
to Prepare for it.
Exactly. And we told them we'd be okay
They
as long
should
as
be
we
in
had
pretty
that.
good shape, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
Yeah, for the things that we've done for
Yeah.
them.
Exactly.
We also have some program income in-house, about $15,000, and we're requesting $10,000 of that to be reallocated. That's just kind of in the process right now, and that will also be for the human services portion.
Thank you. Any questions for Elaine? Thank you, Elaine. Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Elaine.
Additions and cancellations of taxes. Resolved that the taxes in the amount of $12.24 and the cancellation in the amount of $465.88 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinances is hereby approved. The original list is on file in the office of the tax assessor.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion?
I really hope we get that 1224.
Any public discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.
Bid award for new doors at the Civic Center Ice Rink. Resolved, the town council hereby approves the bid award to New England School Services, 12 Greco Lane, Warwick, Rhode Island, for new doors at the Civic Center Ice Rink in the sum of $67,448.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
How many doors we talking?
This is all of the main entry doors on the front and side of both buildings, and it includes all the framing. We've got issues with water leaking into both buildings, particularly the ice rink.
That's all the overhead doors also.
No, this is just the main entry doors, the glass doors on both the front and the sides, but it's
Where's it coming from?
all the framing and everything.
Where's it coming from?
Where's,
Money. Where's money?
the money is actually, later on, you'll see that there is an ordinance with respect to funding that's part of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank Efficiency Program. So these are being done as part of that, but we've asked if we can spend the money now because we do have a current issue, and they've said we're okay to do.
So is that a
utilize
grant?
that. It is, no, it's funding that we're going to, basically you pay back, it's a loan through Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank that you pay back through the efficiency gain. It's part of a much larger project. We're doing
Yeah.
insulation in the building, we're doing other things in the building to improve the efficiency.
Maybe I missed that, I missed that meeting when the details were explained. When was that? The details, the dollar amounts, the total amounts, the detail
Well,
of
we've been
this?
going over the fact we're applying for these. We've
Right.
applied for both these buildings and the DPW building. Those are the two projects that we submitted on, and we had that before you.
Okay.
And then we added the doors to that because those came up as something that we
Okay,
had to address.
and I think it's, I think
Yeah.
it's a great thing. There's no criticism here, other
Yep.
than, you know, and it might be my own fault, but maybe, I don't know, you know, why I don't know the details of it. But it is a loan.
Correct.
It's a revolving.
Actually, Michael Bear from the Infrastructure Bank is here.
Yeah, it's a
So if you
revolving
wanted-
loan. Okay,
he can-
so-
I think he can explain the way it all works in more
Yeah,
detail for
Well,
you.
either that or some kind of document that explains
Yep.
what the payback schedule is and all that.
Sure.
And.
We don't have all those documents yet because they're still in the process of being processed, but yeah, once we get everything, that'll come to you for final approval.
Okay.
Once that's done. So we're going through the
I
stages.
think that's what I'm getting at. I don't
Yeah.
remember approving.
Correct, because it hasn't been
No,
done
we
yet.
did.
We're not there
Yeah.
yet. So we're going through the stages, but because the doors need to be done now, we asked for permission if we could get this funded as part of that, even though we need to do it now. And
Knowing
they- and they
that,
said,
knowing that the
okay.
loan is coming,
Correct.
basically.
Pay it now, pay yourselves back.
Correct.
Yeah, so the first payback is this year, fiscal, or next year, fiscal 17? I just want to know,
Yeah,
like, where the
understood.
money's coming from.
Yep.
Because if it's a loan, then we have to pay it back, right?
Correct.
And if we have to pay it back, it should be in our budget, I would think, unless it's an emergency.
Yeah, so actually,
Just state your name for the record.
Michael Bear, the first repayment won't be until September 2017. So the way we're structuring the loan program is, once all the efficiency projects will be completed, ideally this summer, you'll be able to have a whole year of savings accrued that you can then use to pay back your debt service. So we're matching the loan repayment with the actual savings you're getting from efficiency, and the doors will be part of that.
So it won't be part of this budget, it'll be
Correct.
next year's budget.
Yeah.
Okay, until September 2007.
And what's the anticipated total amount of this that we're going to borrow?
60.
It's,
Roughly.
yeah, no, so we actually have it down here as one of the items here. It's 1.3 million, up to 1.3 million, but that also includes, yeah, we're looking at this as a funding mechanism for the streetlights too, because we have to purchase the LED. So this method might be a cheaper interest rate for
It's
us.
interest-free?
No, it's a subsidized interest rate by the state. So it's much better than if we were to go out to bond or some of the other options we have for the LED. So it saves the taxpayers money, which is why we're looking
A
at
lot of
it for
detail,
that.
never knew.
Yeah.
You knew about this? Was that like a shake of the head, no?
I'm saying
You
no.
can go like this, no, I didn't hear it.
Well, I'm gonna ask about the doors in a second, because I
Yeah.
still wanna clarify the doors. We're just talking the front doors.
No,
of-
front
wait,
and side
hold on.
entryway doors, yeah.
The front doors of the hockey rink and the civic center.
Yep.
And both side doors, main entrance of the civic center and the ice rink.
Correct.
We're not talking all the way around
Correct.
the field
Although
house.
we're looking at the other doors as well as part of this, but we don't have those quotes yet, yeah. We've had RISE go into both buildings.
16 of the doors are
Yeah.
around that building.
Well, I knew when I was sponsoring, I read it then. That was the first I heard of it. Because it's in my ward, so I sponsored it. I got a call from,
The front door,
It seems very interesting.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now,
We're still
when
in the
you're-
process, yeah.
when you're at the field house, I can tell you right now, the front door in the field house, no, you gotta be a doorman, because nobody can get in, the handles are broken.
I just can't
You
believe
gotta
on the
punch-
money that
you gotta
doors
punch
cost.
I was shocked. That was the low bid.
I was shocked when I read
We get
it.
it done,
Yeah.
we've got some money that we get it from, and it's going to be less.
But then I looked at the other bids.
than
Oh, my
interest
God.
on the bond.
Yeah.
My only question is whether we should bond it or not, whether we should just pay cash for it.
If you guys ever remember
Not pay
the,
any
What's the
interest.
matter with?
just remember,
At this point, we're waiting for information from the bank to make
Yeah.
that determination.
Yeah.
when you guys are sitting there talking about doors, we've spent a lot of money on doors in the past. The police department just got their new door. It was pretty pricey. I remember about 8 years ago, the library was very pricey for their door. So I guess it's, the amount of doors you have up there that's being replaced. There's 8 doors on the ice rink on that side. And
Yeah,
there's
plus all the framing.
4 doors on the field house on the side with all glass. And then double doors in both front, so.
Fred, have we dealt with New England School Services before?
The town has, but the school has extensively. So, actually, Kenny Townsend helped us put the bid out because they do this all the time for their buildings. And we only got the 2 bids, but they were night and day in terms of the cost, and they've had a lot of good experience working with them, and they do, high-quality work according to Kenny Townsend, that they've done the doors on the schools in the past.
Thank you. Any more questions? Any public questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Bid award for road rehabilitation services. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the bid award to Cardy Corporation for road rehabilitation services not to exceed $1,657,679.67 for listed roads contingent on completion of listed roads and further road work deemed necessary by town council not to exceed $5 million, including change orders.
I'll move the resolution.
Move in second, any discussion?
Yeah, this was, you guys approved the bid the last meeting, but the resolution wasn't on the agenda, so we had to do it after the fact. So this is just finalizing that.
no, I got half a road in.
Let's say no.
You've already
Thank
approved
you.
the bid, but this is just
No.
cleaning up the paperwork.
I tell you, they're working fast. I didn't even know they were in Ward 1.
No, they're every road's marked and painted and ready to go, and, I know I was up on East Greenwich Avenue today, and they were grinding.
Royal Drive is better without the pavement that was there. It's down to dirt.
East Greenwich Ave is too. But, yeah, I can't believe
Moving
how
along.
fast they came in. I think it's good that we got a jump on it. We're not doing this in November. So at least they'll be busy throughout the summer and get the roads rehabbed as fast as possible.
Yeah, and Dave, and even better news, the $5 million bond, at this point, the roads that we're having done, that we deem necessary to have done, we have what, about 3 million left over?
3.4.
No, Tucker spent his million already.
Again, the 1.6 in the bid was based upon just cold planing and paving. So we made, because we needed a starting point to compare the bids to. In reality, we knew that when they went out, that there were several roads like Royal and Hathaway, which had to be reclaimed, but that we needed them to go out and test the roads and see what happens when they, because if you start to
That's why it was cheaper with.
Yeah.
that's why it was cheaper going
Yeah.
the way we did, because the price
Cost
was
was
double for
double.
reclamation. So all of Royal and Hathaway had to be reclaimed, so those prices increased, accordingly per the contract. And,
much?
For example, Ward 4,
Brian?
our original first round went from 300,000, which was a straight cold plane, and the actual cost was 500,000.
Right.
Once they went out and assessed how many roads needed
Yeah.
to be reclaimed.
As long as you save $500,000 for the flooding problems in my ward,
we've got that
That's fine.
set aside,
sure.
Your Ward
In
money.
13 years, we finally
know.
have some money to fix those
Yeah.
problems down there, those people that have to go through those floods, like every time it
I
rains
agree.
heavy.
yeah.
And I also suggest that we keep a close eye on it, because I don't want Ward 5 doing to us what they did before.
They
Take
should-
off
you
for
should shy
300,000.
them
So
150,000.
when there's overruns, Fred, are we notified individually?
Yeah, so basically, as they're going out there, we're notified, because they were in Ward 1, there haven't been any overruns in the couple that they started in Ward 1.
Mine
Ward
are
5,
mostly all,
Yeah.
we let Brian know what the price changes
So
were.
do we have now the schedule for what they're doing? I mean, we've got the original, but, the plan was to spread it around so that
Correct.
they're doing work in every ward,
Correct.
right? We're still sticking to that?
Yes.
Could we have a schedule on?
Yeah, we'll get you.
I would like
put it
Yeah,
that.
so
Yeah.
at least I
Yeah,
can try to
so you
notify my
know.
people.
And just so you know, all these residents are being notified through our Code Red system.
Perfect.
So we can
Perfect.
notify them by street,
Great,
and they
great,
get the
Fred.
calls,
Great.
and we also put the signs up on the street as well.
Yeah,
So the
and
residents
that's
are
what I
getting
hope
that.
we could use the code red system
Yeah,
for.
it's very
to
appropriate to use it
isolate.
for that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
No, to get the
Keep them
cars
informed.
off. Yeah. Good.
So we'll have a schedule within the next couple of days. I will say that at the baseball field and wherever else I've been today at the middle school softball game, a lot of parents are talking about the roads already, so it's being well taken, and they're being very happy about it. So when we see it done, hopefully they'll appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, I'm sorry, any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Bid award for Fire Station 1 roof repair. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the bid award to M. Wiseman Roofing Company, Inc., 20 Industrial Road, Cumberland, Rhode Island, 02864 for roof repairs to Fire Station 1 in the sum of $47,300.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
So,
manager?
as you'll recall, as part of the budget discussion, we asked to put $100,000 in for the roof repair, because we were informed that it was going to be needed. We asked for a new quote so we can get you a more accurate number. The last quote we had was 100 and change. Upon their inspection of the roof, it was revealed to us that in the estimation of the company, roofing company, that it was in failure and it needed to be done much sooner rather than later. It was completely saturated, and there was no, the longer we waited, the more damage that would be done. So we did a quick call for quotes. We're doing it more or less as an emergency, but because we had a meeting right now, we went ahead and got the quotes and provided them to you. The good news is it was only 47,000 as opposed to 100,000. And they can begin immediately. They're actually, we approved already some work, the part of the roof that sticks up above everything else. There was some repair that had to be done around that, separate from this. It's about an $800 job. We sent them forward on that part of it in advance of this, but this needs to get done immediately. So we're working now from a budget perspective. It is in the budget right now. We can talk about that later on, but ultimately the work has to get done so we can do the work now and move the payment into next budget season, or we can talk about it depending on how we do this budget year. We might be able to cover it. We might be able to cover it depending on how we
We're
do.
saving
So
50-something thousand dollars.
Then we could use that money
Right.
for the senior exemption.
So, but that's the long and the short of it. It has to get done
You're always
immediately,
thinking, Jerome.
and that's why it's on it tonight.
Instead of spending it, why don't we keep it? You know?
I'd rather give it back.
All right, any other discussion?
Keep it for what?
I gotta say, good work on that. Thank you. Any public discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution of the Town of West Warwick to designate the Town of West Warwick as a PACE municipality and to approve the C-PACE agreement, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading with an explanation.
Second.
Moved and seconded to waive the reading. All in favor?
Aye. I'll move the resolution for discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. John, was this was the item you called me on?
Yeah, this is a new program that the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank is proposing. Basically, this is available to commercial properties where they can basically use this program to get funding for renewable energy or efficiency improvement projects, similar to what we just discussed with what we're doing up here at the Civic Center and at the DPW location. It's a loan that's paid back through the savings that are realized through the projects over time. What's unique about this and what our involvement is in this is that the loan goes with the property, so it becomes part of the deed. So if a company does the work, they end up selling the property, that loan goes with the property, and so it becomes part of it. But it's through private lenders, and Michael Bear, again, I'll ask you. You're much more eloquent about the program than I am. I'll ask you to add anything you'd like to about it, but it really is a no-brainer, I think, for the town, because we really don't have to. When it was first introduced, the tax collector's office was going to have to track it all and put it on the bills and all those types of things.
Yeah,
we don't
right.
have to do that now because they've taken care of that aspect of it. So it really is just the town agreeing to support the program.
But this doesn't fall back on us whatsoever.
No. So Michael.
Michael Bear. No, there's no recourse to the municipality at all. None at all. And again, this is a voluntary program for the property owners too. So the property owner works with our program administrator to kind of develop the project, and we have checks and balances in the system to make sure that the project does kind of achieve energy savings or produce energy that will help pay off the loan.
Mike, is the interest a lot lower than we get in commercial banks?
No, but the great thing about PACE is most commercial banks only lend for up to 10 years for improvements.
Right.
We can lend up to the useful life of the improvement. So solar panels are now go for 25 years in terms of the useful life. And we're using all private capital. So there's no bank or state capital going into this program. There are local lenders such as, I would say, we've spoken with Washington Trust, the Navigant credit unions of the world who are willing to participate, and then there are national lenders who are doing this across the country.
This is really interesting. I mean, I can see immediately I imagine, even like the Otter Playhouse might be able to take advantage of this, or reconstruction of the housing on Ashenville Avenue.
And
All
nonprofits,
sorts of things.
nonprofits are a big user of this program too, usually because they're, long holders of their property. They have a hard time accessing capital,
Yeah.
and they can use this, think about you're
Plus,
paying back through your
you're giving the
operations.
business a choice where you don't have to go to the bank, he can opt to this
Is this only business, or is this,
business, right?
Commercial.
Commercial.
it's only commercial?
This,
Okay.
this is only commercial.
Okay.
But one of the things, it's only certain things qualify, there's an application process, I would imagine, because it is the property assessed clean energy, so I mean.
Correct. There's
Yeah.
there's an application process. There's a two-step process. We have underwriting requirements because we don't want to put the building owner in financial hardship. So there are requirements on the program.
Is there a cap on how much money this community, West Warwick, is eligible
No,
to go for?
no. There's no project size. So if someone wanted to do a $30,000 boiler replacement, they would be eligible. If someone wanted to do $1 million of solar panels, they would be eligible. We're seeing a pipeline of projects already in West Warwick from solar developers who are out there, especially in the solar side.
How many other communities in Rhode Island are part of this?
So we just launched our program, and you would be the first to opt in.
There you go.
Let's stop there. Let's just stop there.
Aren't you glad I asked that question?
I just say, there's a commercial price program in Connecticut that's been operational for about three years. They've done over $100 million in deals, and they have about 98% of the area in Connecticut that has opted in. 98% of where there's commercial properties opted in. They do it a little different. They do it a little differently, whereas their local tax collectors bill and collect on their bill. We've centralized that on behalf of all the tax collectors and assessors of Rhode Island.
So, Fred, what's the reach out program for
Yeah,
this?
we
I mean,
got-
at least take their brochure or their booklet here and put it on our website anyway, immediately, on the front page, and maybe just some kind of reach out, and for our businesses to take advantage of this.
And the bank and the program's willing to come here and work within the community to talk to your property owners or whomever you would like.
Yeah, we should talk about a marketing campaign or something like that to
Yeah.
advertise the commercial,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And we've already had
Fantastic.
companies, just last night, there were a few companies here
Yep.
at the planning board meeting, and they were asking about how we could assist with solar projects, and I said, well, just so happens to.
Come see me tomorrow.
That is great. A lot of good things.
Any public comment? Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2016-3 as amended, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin. An ordinance amending section 3.15 community residents of the West Warwick zoning code of the Code of Ordinances of the town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, and just, we went over this, well, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, just basically cleaning up some language. Councilman Giroux, I think in 3.15.1, the word was changed to mentally disabled or mentally handicapped or physically handicapped, instead of that one word that you brought up the last meeting.
Yeah, we should send a letter to,
You're on, you're on.
we should send a letter to the state too, because that word is offensive to many. And I know the language is exactly from the state legislation, that's why it was put in here. And basically, we said, we don't care if it's in the state, we're not gonna use that word, we're gonna use the proper language in there, and we did. Take us to court.
I agree.
So, but I think we should just draft a very quick letter pointing out that we discovered this, and certainly they would want to change that word.
Mary Ann, can you take care of that?
Draft a letter?
To the state.
Who would it go to? Health and Human Services or something?
Could be the governor.
Yeah, the chairman probably of the, whoever.
You could actually send it to the governor,
Yeah.
the speaker.
Representative Nunes and Senator Satchel.
I'll send you a draft before I send it in.
Yeah, you could just send it to us, we can say approved.
Thanks, Dave.
Roll call vote. Actually, any public comment? Roll call vote. Brian?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
ordinance number 2016-4, first reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin. An ordinance authorizing the town of West Warwick to finance the acquisition, construction, equipping, and installation of energy efficiency improvements in municipal facilities and all attendant expenses, including but not limited to engineering costs, and approving the financing thereof through the issuance of general obligation bonds and/or notes in the amount not to exceed $1,300,000.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Who called me on this?
John. Again, the bulk of this is for the streetlight project.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at multiple funding mechanisms. Now, Prism has their own funding that we could utilize, but like we do with everything, like we're doing with the turbines now, we look at every option to see what is the cheapest borrowing that we can do for the taxpayers. This is likely, the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank funds will likely be that source. But what this is, this language was recommended by bond counsel to just get this read and approved now, so that once we get to that point, we decide where to go and the council makes the decision what they want to do with that we're set up to do it, that we've already gone through this process and there's no delay at that point because we have to do the 2 readings. So we're just anticipating approval, and we'll decide at the point. You'll get everything before we do anything in the presentation, all the details of the projects. But right now, what we submitted on for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, that's the approximate value, and again, that's improvements at DPW building, which, as you all know, need a lot, and the Civic Center complex, where we're talking about insulation and some lighting and some other things like the doors and things like that, just to improve the efficiency of those buildings. Right now, it's just, again, the first reading to give us the bonding authority, and we'll present to you all the options once we get the data back, because Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank's still going to be getting us their numbers. Prism is going to be getting us the numbers from the company they're looking at doing the funding from, and we can even look at what it would be if we bonded it ourselves. But in all those options together, but again, the Infrastructure Bank is a subsidized rate for us, which is why we go to them, because their rate is a better deal for us for obvious reasons. So.
Have we heard back from the grid about the application?
Yeah, we did today. They said
Convenient.
June they're going to turn it around for us. So it's been a long delay. We just heard back today. They said they hope to have it processed by June.
Yeah, it kind of hurt a little when I saw it.
We pushed back a little on that because they said
Providence made a big splash in the news about them doing the LED, and I'm like, hey.
We've been planning this for over, what, a year?
Yeah.
Well, we started this before the legislation existed in 2009.
Right,
Yeah.
Pretty
This
soon-
process.
Pretty soon we'll find out, Providence was the first one to build windmills.
Soon.
Right, or Coventry or whatever.
So June.
Well, we'll get into it when.
So Fred, is June like the discussion time, or is June the startup time to get things rolling?
June would be when we would do the closing with them to purchase our lights, because we can't do any of it until we purchase our lights. So that's the time that they say they'll be ready to provide all that documentation and do the closing for the purchase.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Roll call vote. Brian?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Resignation from the Board of Tenant Affairs, resignation of Elaine C. Marsh, resignation of Janice Pacheco, resignation of Judith Jackson.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion to, wait a minute, we're
Discussion,
gonna move this?
Yeah, motion,
Motion to discuss, because this really needs.
That's it.
motion to accept, and we can go in.
Motion to accept, names for,
for-
Motion to accept, discussion. Just to give you a brief heads up, each individual has their own reasons for resigning from the board. Janice Pacheco, who became a very close and personal friend of mine and actually was my campaign manager in 06, 08, and 10. She personally has health issues now, and she told me that she needs to get off the board. She's had a rough time on there, and she's accepted that she wanted. I actually spoke to her and said, start spending time with your family and enjoying yourself instead of getting all stressed out. So she resigned for that reason. Elaine Marsh, one of the reasons she spoke to me at Jared Nunes' fundraiser. Some of the rules and regulations and open meetings laws that were explained to her, Somebody put the fear of God into it because they had a meeting that wasn't possibly properly recorded or whatever.
No,
And
Dave, that was me, and she posted a meeting notice, and I called her and said, you can't post a meeting, you can post a meeting notice.
no,
but
well,
you
somebody
must post
told her
an
that she
agenda."
could be fined up to $2,000, and she's like, well, I don't even make $2,000 on this board, so. She said, she didn't want to put herself at risk, and understandably so. Judith Jackson, I did not get to speak to her. I don't know what
That's
her.
family obligations.
Well, yeah, for what she said in her resignation, it was family obligations. You know, people, I mean, it's tough to get people to volunteer for these type of positions. And I talked to a few people also. I talked to one of the people that I'm going to recommend tonight. And, I mean, there's got to be strong leadership. For years, that board, the Tenant Affairs Board, really didn't do too much, and then it started going again. And there was some strong leadership in there, and that particular person moved on to being on the commission. With that, there was a void, and it's very stressful, because there's so many, rules and regulations that they have to abide by, and they don't have the health, and they don't have, not the fortitude, but the stamina to really do this thing, because they're worried that, the state's going to come down on them because they didn't post, minutes, or because they didn't realize they had to, or they just didn't. So it gets very stressful. And this has been the common theme throughout all the people on this committee, once the strong leadership left that committee. And hopefully, it's a valuable board, and I hope we can appoint some people that want to dig into it. I think if they need help, maybe we should try to provide help for them, a little tutoring on what has to be done, maybe some type of user's guide on what has to be done, and the quickest way to do it, and the simplest way to do it, so that we can get good people to be on these boards and committees, because it's getting more and more difficult to get them and to keep them once they get in there and they see all the rules and regs that they've got to do. And it's too bad, because they really have good intentions. But the good news is, I hope we're appointing some good people tonight too, to take their place and willing to, dig in and do the work that's required.
Any other comment? And again, can you just send them a letter of thank you for their time and service?
Yeah, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointment for Board of Tenant Affairs. There are 2 openings right now, but there will be a 3rd opening coming up, but we have to post it 3 times.
Which one, are they both public, or is one?
There's,
They're all
I
three.
think there's 2 public in West Warwick Manor, but tonight we can only appoint public and West Warwick Manor. So the one for public is 2 applications, Roger Noel, 19 Queen Avenue, West Warwick. The second one is Robert Card, 66 Shippey.
Well, we have to move the resolution first. I'll move the resolution.
Second that. I'd like to recommend
vote. You
Roger.
gotta vote.
Oh, good vote, sorry.
No, it's discussion.
You gotta vote on a resolution. No?
You get 3 separate appointments.
You got 3 separate appointments, so you gotta move the names.
Unless you move to bundle them.
Oh. Well, you have 3 appointments with 3 names.
Well,
2
again,
openings.
No, we can appoint one for the public and one for,
you got 2 names for the public, which
One for the
are,
mayor.
you can only do one.
Roger Noel and
Okay.
Robert Card.
so you have 2,
Why don't you take care of the appointment for the manor first, and then you can decide what to do with the.
Oh, okay.
Appointment of the Board of Tenant Affairs, West Warwick Manor. Resolved, the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Board of Tenant Affairs for the town of West Warwick, for a term to expire April 2018. The name is Deborah Bridgman.
I'll move the name of, the resolution in the name of Deb Bridgman.
I second that.
move the second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I know Deb personally, and Ed, you just said you need strong
That's
members
right.
on that board, and
I've
Deb's a strong member.
talked to Deb, I gave her a phone call last week, and I agree. And I talked to her, what I just said
I
tonight.
think she's here, isn't she?
Deb, you here? Ah, in the darkness over there. Okay.
Oh, she's hiding.
All right, stand up, no. And I think, you know what it's gonna take. Good, good. All right.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor for Deborah Bridgman?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, Deborah,
Congratulations.
and good luck.
Appointment for the Board of Tenant Affairs, resolved that the town council hereby appoints the following individual to serve as a member of the Board of Tenant Affairs for the town of West Warwick for a term to end 3/2018.
I'll move the resolution, and you want to move the name of who had?
Yeah, I'd like to move Robert Card. They're both good, you know, but you got to make a decision. So I'd like to put forward Robert Card from 66 Shippey Avenue.
I didn't get a second for
Nope.
the resolution.
I moved the resolution. He moved the name. We need a second.
No, you moved the resolution, I need a second for the resolution, then I need him to move a name.
It is the second.
Ed seconded.
All right,
Okay.
now there's a motion.
Now there's a motion.
I'd
Now,
like to make a motion that we nominate and put in Robert Card from 66 Shippey Avenue.
Do I have a second?
I wanna
I'll
make
second.
Yeah. I don't want to discourage.
Now we can discuss it.
I don't want to discourage,
it's the other one.
yeah,
Noel.
Mr. Roger, was it?
Roger Noel.
Yeah, Roger,
Where's he from?
Mr. Noel. Thank you for putting your name in. I don't know if you're here tonight, but thank you very much. You know, we may have another opening, and when we do, I think we're going to.
We'd have to post it 3 times.
Yeah.
Right, we have to post it 3 times, and I thank you for coming forward to possibly serve on this board.
I want to make a note that the agenda doesn't match the applicant's name. It's not Roger, it's Robert.
Yeah,
It's Robert.
that's Robert.
Yeah.
No wonder why,
Noel?
no wonder he didn't acknowledge when I called him out.
Robert.
Are they here tonight? Either one here
It's
tonight?
on here, right?
But on the agenda it says Roger Card.
Yeah.
No, there's
That's-
a Roger Noel.
No, there's Roger Noel and Card.
Who's here? Who's that at?
She,
Can't hear.
one used the last
names,
name,
yeah.
one used the last name, and one used the first
Oh,
name.
okay.
So it is right, Robert Card.
No,
Is
yeah.
that Robert here?
Instead of putting Noel
Mr.
and
Card
Card.
here?
Yeah, he's
you are.
right there.
Thank you, Mr. Card.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations and good luck.
Get to work.
I will say before we move on, Mr. Machado did leave. I don't think he's here.
No.
But, you know, he did call me when he heard about resignations, and, you know, he's very passionate, if anybody knows him. He gets a little worked up sometimes, but when he heard all the resignations were happening, he called me, and he didn't know what was gonna happen. He thought Board of Tenant Affairs was gonna just go away, and we weren't gonna do anything, or there weren't gonna be anybody volunteering to come forward. So I know he had to leave tonight, but, you know, I'm just glad to see that we do have volunteers for this board and stay very involved in Board of Tenant Affairs. So thank you again for everybody who applied.
Okay. Discussion action, reallocation of capital funds for purchase of 3 Tough Books with AmbuPro EMS system upgrade for the fire department, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
Chief? Chief?
Thought we were gonna be here a lot longer. Fast.
If you remember correctly, in our budget workshops, we had talked about some upgrades and the money we saved in capital on the SCBA grant that we received. So we had leftover money from face pieces I had to buy that I didn't have to buy because of the grant. We had discussed that I need to upgrade Tough Books. AmbuPro EMS system is, we're under contract with them, with our system, and they had the low quote with the program installed in these Tough Books at $8,085. I didn't realize there wasn't an attachment to this. I didn't bring my, there were quotes. I'm going by memory now. $8,085 through AmbuPro.
So Chief, you have that amount in capital funds still?
Yes. $9,009.33 through TransCore. And the other one was GovConnect connection, and they're all the same type of tough buck Panasonic. The other quote was $10,418. And just to do things properly, asking your permission to reallocate money that was earmarked for something else that we didn't have to spend on, to put it towards these new tough books for the rescues.
Coming out of this year's budget.
Yes.
And where did we save the money?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where we saved the money?
Yes, and when I received the grant for the SCBA equipment, this capital was, if we did not get the grant, we had to buy the face pieces in some air packs, not the whole 25 packs that we received in bottles from the grant. So we had some money earmarked for that SCBA to buy so much this year, so much next year in our 5-year capital improvement plan.
So there's savings in that account?
Yes.
That's how we're getting the money.
Correct. I didn't have to spend money on SCBA equipment because of the grant.
It's neutral. It's,
You just have.
I'm just asking the
Just
council's
reallocate.
permission to,
Yep.
We've had the discussion, and I suggested that because we're reallocating funds for what the council previously approved.
It's that time of
we
year,
thought it'd be
yep.
best to do that.
Yeah.
It's that time of year. Everybody has money they want to spend.
and it's pretty much a sole source, because Ambry Pro, we are under contract with them, with our maintenance agreements, and we did our due diligence on getting 3 quotes, so.
Thank you, chief. Any questions for the chief?
Yeah, Chief, was this on our, this was, you might have already said this maybe, this was on our 5-year plan originally to get these books? Was this something you suddenly needed?
This is something that we need. Our tough books are taking a beating.
Because they were replacing, how old are those things?
Windows 98.
No,
Yeah.
well, that's what's happening. The new upgrade, the tough books we have won't,
Using XP, you can't use XP because of security.
Yeah.
right, and then the Director of Communications had explained that in our workshop. He was the one that actually said that we
And it
needed
doesn't have
to
the
do
memory
it.
to support the new.
Correct.
Either Windows 7, Windows 8, or Windows 10.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make that clear, that it's not something you just want 3 to put on.
No,
the shelf.
no,
Right.
absolutely not.
Okay, good.
Thank you, chief. Any questions for the chief? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Sergeant Brian R. St. Germain Motorcycle Run, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
Yes, I put this on because I received an email from Lynn St. Germain. I forgot to send it over, but it's basically looking for a sponsors like we did last year for the event. I think last year we gave $100, and I think she gave us all a T-shirt, if I remember correctly. Right?
Motion to give the $100.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That was easy enough.
Get the T-shirts.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Lynn, Marion, if you could take care of that and go through Lynn St. Germain, I'll send you the email.
You might want to mention that money comes back to the town in the form of
Goes to the track.
Yeah. The money is going back to the
Oh,
town
all right,
for track or Toys for Tots, whatever
right.
happens there.
Okay.
Reports, town managers report.
Paul, was that you?
Just a couple updates for you. Ed, you referenced the turbines. The turbines are en route. They're on a ship right now.
From China?
They're arriving next week.
Wow.
So they'll arrive in Quonset next week, and there'll be an opportunity I'll send out once we know a firm time when they're going to arrive.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You'll be able to go down, and I plan on going down when they offload them. We'll be able to see them at the terminal there, and the representatives from Vensis are already here, and they're going to receive them. They were there when they went on. Now they're here when they come off, and then they'll be, over the next week or so, they'll be shipped over to the location in Coventry, and they'll be mobilizing equipment over the next few
You know, it'd
weeks.
be
So
nice, Fred, if we
Yep.
could get the group that's working on the PBS film,
yes, good idea, yeah.
if we could get them, they've got plenty of cameras,
Yep, you're right,
to go down there and maybe do a piece,
good idea.
because, I mean, this is historical, it really
Let's
is.
hope there's no rough seas.
Yeah, right, right. So it's a
we
fast
lost one.
boat from Germany, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
The SS Giroux.
Right. So I think that would be great, and then maybe before they do the PPS, maybe you could take some clips and put it on on our website.
Yep.
All right, also, let me know when it is, I'll try my best to be
Sure.
down there too, take some film. But
They'll be there.
I think they would definitely be interested.
They'll be there for a week plus because they have to get all the pieces off. They
Yeah.
inspect everything. Everything was shrink wrapped, believe it or not, all the tower pieces and everything, because the wires are installed into the tower pieces. And it's just plug and play. So all those will be checked and verified and double checked, and so it's a long process to vet that before they're able to be shipped. And then once they start moving from Quonset to Coventry, those are good. That's going to be a site going down the highway. So
Hey, Ed,
Yeah,
for us computer guys, it's plug and pray, right?
plug and pray, right. Is that an area where it's coming in where the public, West Warwick taxpayers can be invited, or is that a secure area that we?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find out.
Okay.
They said that we can go. They
Yeah,
did say
okay.
that we
All
can
right.
go. So, but I can find out what's
I would hope
what's
so.
possible.
I mean, if it is, it might be a secure area.
a
But
lot
yeah,
of
if
Audis
it
down there,
isn't,
too.
then we could, people
Sure.
might be interested. Again, this is history
Yeah.
being made here. that,
Absolutely.
West Warwick going into the, being green big time.
Absolutely. Next thing I want to do is give you a more detailed update on the Civic Center. What I asked John to do is provide, like we've done for all departments, provide you, just to recap, this has been set up as an enterprise fund, so similar to the sewer department, but it doesn't have all of the formal requirements that the sewer department does yet. That is something we would like to do if the council makes a decision to move forward with this. We'd like to set up a similar protocol that we have for the sewer department with respect to the way the sewer department just presented the budget to you on 2 occasions, and then you vote on it. There's nothing in the ordinances right now to do that with this, but we're going to provide you with the information now for your review. At the next meeting in June, we'd like to do a formal workshop on it, and if there's any questions, comments, and then have you vote to approve the budget for the coming year. Just to give you an overview, we've spent a lot of money there this last year to get everything up and running that we've talked about, the Zamboni, you approved the purchase of the cooling tower, and then we had to do a lot of plumbing and electrical work in there just to get it to code. And that came to around $170,000 that we've spent there to get that building up and running. That being said, right now, we are only about $20,000 off of breaking even after spending $170,000, and we still have time left in the year. So we have a proposed budget for next year, which includes the same positions we had operate the facility this year, because it seemed to work really well, with the exception of a person to do that marketing and booking piece that we talked about. And the proposal in here for that position proposes that we have a person that gets a base salary, and then we would work out some commission base based upon the marketing revenue that's brought in. I have 2 teams at Bryant University, the senior marketing class right now, working on proposals for a marketing plan for the Civic Center. They will present those to me next week, at which time I'll provide them to the council for your review. But again, what we'd like to do is post for a position in the next fiscal year that'll serve in that capacity. We believe, you'll see in this budget, we put a low estimate of about $15,000 for revenue for marketing. I think we can do much better based upon the facilities and what's possible up there, but I'm waiting for the feedback from them to firm up those numbers, so it's conservative.
13 years ago, it was 20,000.
Fred, this last venue that was up there with the wrestling, did we run that, or did we rent out?
We rented it.
We rented it.
We rented it.
Place was mobbed.
Yeah, I heard.
It's wrestling.
So again, the first one is the year-to-date versus budget. The second sheet is the proposed budget for next year. And then the third sheet is the personnel supplement that you saw for all the other departments. That we want to provide you idea.
Just one quick question, Fred, I want to ask, is that position union, non-union?
It would be non-union, what we're proposing, because it's a marketing specialist. And that person is also, what we envision is someone to, sell the marketing and to also market the venue itself, to book events like the wrestling event that was up there, because I think there's a lot more you can do with that field house that's not being done. And my initial conversations with the group over in Bryant, they agreed wholeheartedly that there's a lot that can be done
Concerts,
that
carnivals.
we're not doing. So I'd like to have a dedicated person to that role. They would also book and schedule and do things like that. So there's some administrative, but most of it is, the bulk of the work is the marketing piece. This year, just so you know, the scheduling and the finance piece has been handled internally by my office and finance. So we've taken that role, but that's a role that we want to see this individual take on. So, with obviously checks and balances from our finance department. So, but ultimately, I think what you'll see is that the potential for the place, now that we won't be spending $170,000 on it next year, is great for us to see a profit. We show, because, I think this budget is very conservative and we're showing a break even, but that break even is considering repayment of any exceedances we had this year, and we put in a rough estimate of 40,000. We don't think we're going to need quite that much, but we put that in there, and also capital improvement money to go in there at $33,000. We'd like to build that pot over time, like was always the thought that we need to do that. So, but again, this is, it's not on the agenda for discussion, but I wanted to provide you an overview and an update. You can take it. If you have any questions for me, individually over the course of the week, or John, please feel free to give us a call. Go up and take a look at the facility. It's looking great, versus what it was. And I think it's running very well. And again, we'd like to put it on the agenda for the 7th for a more formal workshop, and then any dialogue we'd like to do, or I'll take your recommendations on how you'd like to handle it, but that's our recommendation.
Fred, the marketing specialist will report directly to you?
Correct.
Are they, they're in here, under the,
Yeah.
are they listed as
So it's-
assistant director?
So it's listed in here as, the assistant director position you see, that's the DPW position.
DPW, it's being
That's their
funded from
portion.
areas.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct. It's listed in here as under secretary, but we've since meeting with Brian, we've altered that, but we gave them that budget, and they said if you did a base salary at that, plus the ability to earn based upon, what they're able to market the facility. So we're still developing that, but we think we can do it within that budget amount, and we'll make those adjustments.
So it's listed as secretary then?
Yeah. In terms of the amount doesn't change, though. We're really looking at the amount. It's just not, we looked at the secretary position, but it's much more involved than that, what's needed up there. And again, to maximize the value of the facility to the taxpayers, we really need somebody that's up there marketing. You look at all the other venues across the state, and they have dedicated marketing and booking staff. And I think, for us to combine that position is viable. And again, speaking with the instructors at Bryant and also the students, they felt that was a reasonable request. So, but again, we'll be getting the report from them next week, so I'll have more information to give you when we workshop this. But right now, I think ultimately the bottom line is, I think for the first year, given that we were really rushing to get everything moving in time for the hockey season, so we didn't lose a season. We didn't lose a season. And by the way, we're already fully booked in the rink for next year. So the rink booking is not an issue. Good marketing opportunities in the rink because it is booked, and we're looking at various things. So, but the field house really, I think, is the opportunity
Are
to
we
expand.
operating in the summer?
This year, we did not. This year, we stopped only because there's a few things we have to, because there's no insulation on the south side of the building.
Yep.
The ice gets too soft.
Soft.
And so there are two approaches to that. One is the insulating, and the other is putting in the second
Another humidifier?
dehumidifier, which is part of the capital that you see in there for the budget for next year. Next year, we plan to run year-round.
Yeah,
But
because
we just-
I was asked that, and I said,
Yep.
well, I'll check into it, but
We-
I remember Doug did give me a little bit of,
We didn't have the time to do
Refreshing.
everything we needed in there to get, because with people using everything, we didn't have the opportunity to.
Probably spend more trying to keep it cool anyway.
Yeah, we wanted to sandblast all the locker rooms and really get those cleaned up, but we didn't have the opportunity to do that. We're going to do that over this break. We plan to be down for about 2 months, and then we'll start revving back up again. So certainly by August, we'll be in full operation again, and that's when the hockey season starts.
Great. Town financial meeting.
Yep,
What's the date?
17th.
17th of May. Starts at, what, 7 o'clock?
Yep,
Close
Right.
open at
Yep.
6.
Doors open at 6. We'll mention it again, I'm sure, right? We'll have enough time to.
absolutely.
And I had asked, I would really like to stream it for
Yes.
the public to see. How you doing on that?
I did speak with Ken. They have the ability to record it and give us a feed. Now I just have to come up with any service to feed it into. So I know there are online services. I was going to speak to you about it actually.
Yeah,
So they
okay.
can give us the feed, plug it in into the computer, and as long as we can tap into whatever it is that you think is the best. I mean, I don't.
There's a few that
There's a
I've
few of them.
worked with.
I've never
Yeah.
used them. I was going to ask you your advice on that,
Yeah.
but we have the capabilities, and it will be set up to do that. We just need a laptop, which I'll bring my laptop. I just need, what you think is the best one, and I'll set it up.
But they'll
So
give us,
it's
they'll
not
give
gonna
us
be
a
on-
feed.
It's not gonna be on Granicus?
See again?
No, because we don't have the
feed
encoder
up there.
over there. We need the encoder and everything, so we don't have that ability.
The way it's set up, David, it can't go directly to them. But there's other.
But we can upload it after the fact.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can upload it after the meeting.
YouTube supports live streaming.
Sure.
Yeah, there's YouTube, there's a whole bunch of them that,
Yeah, there's so many of them.
but we've got to,
I haven't used them enough, that's why I was just gonna ask Ed's advice on that, but
Okay, good.
we can do.
No, I think that's- I
But
think that's
it's all
important.
set up, they have the ability to film it, and they will be filming it.
That way there's a live streaming option.
And it'll be the live audio from the microphones, he said they're all set up to
yeah.
do that anyway.
Yeah, great, okay.
Fred,
Fantastic.
update on the skate park.
Right now, the fence is gonna be installed within the week, and then Kenny's gonna begin with his guys to install the equipment that we have, and the other equipment's on order. So as soon as it comes in, it will be installed, so.
I thought it was all in, we were just waiting for the fence.
The original equipment he hadn't ordered the other stuff until everything was up, and I told him, order it now and let's go. So it shouldn't be that long. Should be, as soon as the fence is up, I would imagine it'd be, a week or two.
And for the record,
right.
it's actually, I was there today checking it out. It's almost twice the size as the previous
Yeah.
skate park.
We increased the size.
And he added, like you said, he plans on adding more equipment, so
Again, it
it's
is,
kind of hard to see actually, because if you're on the lower end of the park, you actually have to come up behind Horgan. It's now behind there, so it's in better view also.
We had talked about security cameras for that.
There's already,
Yeah.
there's already cameras there, and that's why, that's another reason why it's up there, because we put cameras on the new tennis courts and basketball courts, and it covers the area where the skate park is as well.
covers the entire area.
And
So
under
we'll have full
under the
coverage.
manager's report, I would like to get that done soon as possible, because it's
Absolutely.
supposed to have been done
You're right,
last year,
yeah.
it was
And-
pushed
and-
aside.
And I accept
The emails
responsibility
keep
for the
coming.
delays. There were many things that came up, and unfortunately, because we are doing it in-house, and we're doing that to save money, and we have saved a lot,
ton of
particularly on the ball field work, and there was a huge pile of dirt, if you'll recall, in the area where the skate park is now, is going, and we had to move that, and that's when it came up. I wasn't aware of the condition of the ball field, the fact it was 8 feet below in left field where, from home plate.
Looks good now.
In elevation, so it just made sense to utilize that soil rather than shipping in soil from elsewhere to
Actually-
fix that. So it was an opportunity that
Exactly.
we,
There was an opportunity, in fact, I don't mean to cut you off, but speaking to Dave Lombari at the time, they were talking of transferring all that dirt to behind the high school, which was going to be a $50,000 expense because we couldn't transfer it. They had to hire a company to transfer it because it would tie up everybody. And that's when I talked to Fred about the ball field, and Ken Townsend got involved. Angela, I fully agree. I know the skate park has taken a long time, but to see what they've gotten accomplished in the past year in the community, and I hope they get the park done, the skate park done within the next month, so the kids can enjoy it for the spring, summer, and fall. But anybody take a ride down to Ray Silva? I wish I took a picture of it last year. Actually, I got a picture of it at home, but take a look at that field now. It actually looks better than McCarthy.
And that's another thing too, Scott Silva called me up, his father's name isn't put back up on Reef Silva Field. He wanted that put back up,
We'll get that put back.
Ray Silva.
I didn't know that.
yeah.
There's a sign up there.
It's on the other field or whatever. He noticed it, he called me, and I brought it up to, who'd I bring it up to at opening day?
There's a sign up on the
It's
concession
gotta be
stand.
on Ray Silver Field or whatever it
The-
was,
the-
wherever
the monuments,
it was.
Angelo, just to give you a heads up, the monuments used to be buried. The monuments used to be buried, and Tony Duffy and his crew down there, they redid the monuments, they moved them to the front of the field at the main entrance. It's very well kept now, so that, that does have Mr. Silver's name on it, but his name is on the front of the concession stand. I know.
All right, just something, Scott came by and he was concerned.
I know, I can
yeah.
order another banner for it too, if I
The
have to.
only other thing I'm gonna try and sneak in the manager's report is on the, financial town meeting, the voting. We have some referendums on there, some questions. This is gonna be probably questioned to you when you ask the solicitor. We're gonna hire 2 more commissioners. We're gonna appoint 2 more commissioners. We're asking the people. My understanding, it has to go through the Rhode Island State House before we're only allowed to appoint 5.
I can address that. You have to get permission of the people to change your charter to 7, and then submit it to the
And
General
then
Assembly.
the General
And that-
Assembly
it says that-
approves,
It says
okay.
that right on the ballot. So what happens is, if the people notify the council that the charter can be changed, then you submit that change to the General Assembly. Should the General Assembly approve it, it's all set.
Okay.
The General Assembly doesn't approve it, it's all done. But
All
that's on the ballot.
Just
Ju-
something that was
Just
brought to my
remember,
attention.
that may not be approved in this year's General Assembly, it might have to go to next year's.
But
Because
the other,
June
yeah.
is when
I
they close
understand.
shop.
It would go there.
The other question is, everything that's been going on with the commissioners, I'm wondering if the council's gonna take any action on whoever is responsible for misappropriation of funds, misappropriating funds, or do we not have, any right to take action? I mean, we appoint them. Some of the things were very disturbing. I have probably a packet that big, and people who were involved and people who weren't. I'm wondering if the council's going to take any action, if any at all.
Angelo, if I recall correctly, Mr. Barrett stood here about 6 to 8 months ago and disclosed all that information that happened in 2012, 2013, and if I'm correct, I think terminations have happened. I think almost every employee is no longer there. Going on with the board, again, Mr. Barrett and the board sat here, members of the board sat here 6 months ago and disclosed a lot of the information right here. It was not new news
Yeah,
that was out there.
The new news was when certain individuals went away and had alcohol bills totaling $1,200. I should have brought the folder. They can't account for $15,000. Gas slips were 8 square miles. Something I heard about the slips, they were fabricated. It wasn't even from the person that they bought them from. They were stolen from them years ago, and the slips were made out. That's not for me to decide or anything. That's
And that's-
for
and-
HUD.
and that's
But
what-
Can
my-
I just address, these are allegations. If you're going to frame it in such a way that it's a statement, I'm just gonna
No, I'm
caution.
saying the allegations that are made.
Listen,
But
I'm just caution all council members, if you're gonna discuss this, discuss it in the form of allegations, nothing more,
Right.
nothing less, because the only thing that I understand was, there was a story that was presented by Channel 10, and who knows who's doing what investigation, if any. So, that's
I was-
at your own peril,
I was
just
actually
be
going to bring
careful.
this up during, discussion afterwards, because right now we're in the, I don't know
Well, I
if it's
figure we
appropriate.
could get it through the managers.
Well, no, but it's not his decision, it's our decision, all right? So it really has nothing to do
Then
with
bring
the
it up at,
manager, other
bring
than
it
his
up at
opinion on it.
public comment.
Yeah, that's what, I want to hear it, I want
wanna
to
hear
talk
it.
about it.
Well, you're here, just talk about it
I'm
now.
confused about some of the so-called facts, and because I remember months ago,
just be
we
careful.
were here, right? And I remember they got good grades from HUD, right, from the auditor, and I was outraged. You remember that? I was outraged. If they can't have their act together, imagine what it's like around the country. right?
Exactly,
And I think that's
scary.
what Josh said on TV, too.
Yeah,
right? And I
scary.
said it 6, 7, 8 months
No, you
ago.
did.
Right? That we got grades that said it was good, they were in good shape. Audits that said they were in good shape. And I agree, whatever is wrong has to be fixed. We're limited, I mean, I think we've tried months ago, we've been told outright,
We don't have to answer to
that-
you.
That they don't have to answer to us. And our attorney, our solicitor, has said that's the state law. We appoint, and that's the end of it.
They're autonomous.
Now, certainly through freedom of information, we might be able to get some information, but, you know what,
And-
I'm sorry.
and I will tell you-
I'd like to talk about it at the end, so we can be
But
very
Ed,
free
I
to
could
talk
tell you
about
that I've attended their meetings, I've asked for information, and I will say Josh was chairman at the time, and when I asked for that information, I didn't get it from Josh, but I was told off by their lawyer a couple of times, and that's what got me fired up. I still got the emails on that.
yeah.
They were in the back room
That's
telling Josh they don't have to answer to
That's
us.
the new attorney.
Right? The new attorney.
the new attorney.
And that was under Josh's regime.
We're all frustrated about it. 'cause
And I can tell
wasn't-
you right
I wasn't
now-
asked by Channel 10 for my comment.
I-
You weren't either. I don't think was anybody
No,
asked?
nobody here was asked.
I
but-
was.
But
Yeah,
the,
well, I know, but it's in my
Well,
ward too, but you know,
right.
I wasn't asked. Yeah.
but I will tell you this,
But
they're
the
also
reason
looking at
why,
last
and
year.
let me
Angelo,
clarify the reason
Angelo,
why.
I understand that,
I
but
was
they're also-
approached was because I was the one that brought it up when I was president, that every commission and board would appear before the council or email them. Ed, you were here, Dave, you were here. And the only one that I had trouble with and refused time after time after time again to give us an update what's going on with the housing, number one. Number two, I realize now why they didn't want to give me that report then.
Well, they were directed by
And
their
then,
solicitor.
then
Yeah.
the lawyer
Mr.
then was
Lucia.
Lucia, came up and said, he don't have to answer to you.
He did.
So-
I don't disagree with that.
And he's gone.
But
And that's
Angelo,
why I was
Angelo,
approached,
they-
because they
The
looked back the
director's
minutes.
gone,
But
staff
now-
members are gone.
but now they're
they're
going
fired.
through.
But I just think it's a pretty sad situation that we appoint,
It is.
Yeah, it is.
and what we should do is let HUD appoint them, because our elderly people and the less fortunate people is money that's taken out of their pockets, and it's a disgrace if any of this is true. But I
Angelo.
see in black and white,
Angelo,
where
wait
they
till-
can't, for being a chairman, David, you're the president of the council. If you can't disclose where the money went on the council side of the budget, then you should be fired.
I
You should be thrown off the board.
don't disagree.
So these guys that wouldn't come up with the reason, for all the wrong reasons they didn't want to come testify in front of us, and to deliberately look at us and snub their nose at us when this is our constituents. Most of them were born and brought up in this good town. And to get a slap in the face and not do anything about it, rescind the vote, rescind an appointment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever would have to do, I'm in favor of doing.
Well,
Because for the most part, you can't account for $15,000. I bet you in their account, if there's a penny missing, they know where that one went.
I've already asked the solicitor to do that, Angelo, that can we legally rescind our appointments? So he's going to find out, he's going to, officially, I'm just one person. Officially, he's not going to do it unless the council wants to.
And I also want, Angelo, right now, they're going through their 2015 audit, and things have been brought up to me, and I was called upon. The amount of money was spent on an attorney last year. And actually, I told
I
Solicitor...
wonder why.
Well, I talked to Solicitor Williamson. It wasn't directed, it was kind of like, do you know how, and I don't know how Timmy bills, but if Brian calls Timmy, right, without our authority, and then Timmy starts charging him, I call Timmy, ask him something real quick, he starts billing me. Well, that attorney was billing for every little call, every little call.
Pension board bills you
Hey,
every call you make,
hey,
no matter if
listen.
one of the pensioners or whatever, talk to them, they bill them.
$250,000 in attorney fees in 2015. Maintenance fees, Randy, what was the name of that company?
MV main
No,
sale.
No, skip DMV, skip
That's
that.
another issue.
Hold on, that's another one. Done Right or Something Construction, $200,000 for changing light switches and whatever else. Wait till 2015 comes out. And who was chairman then? You gotta be careful on how we sit here and criticize, because
No, anybody who's involved should be sitting on the fire.
I mean-
Anybody involved, I don't care who the chairman was, but who's the chairman now? Who was the chairman when that
Can I-
happened?
Can I suggest
I
something?
emailed the director, emailed me, and said it was all a bunch of nonsense. He emailed 50 people. I forwarded back. I said, may I ask one question? Who was the chairman of the board then, and who's the chairman now?
But again,
And nobody would answer me.
But I
58
think the
emails,
question you wanna
nobody would
ask-
answer me.
Angelo, I think the question you want to ask
And I
also-
said that to Gavigan too.
Yeah, but you might want to ask who was the director, and is that director there?
We
Guys,
know who the director was.
Gentlemen,
I know who the
gentlemen,
director was.
Gentlemen, you gotta be careful. You have no statutory authority, no federal authority, or even any municipal authority to inquire. The only thing you do is appoint, which means the only thing you may be able to do is rescind, period. If someone was to ask a question, Angelo, Brian, David, or Ed, to any member or their director, they certainly have the right to respond. But if they don't have permission from their board to respond, it's almost like they didn't respond, because the board is not authorizing it. They speak as a board, just like you speak as a board. They do not have to report to you, they don't have to let you know anything, they don't have to provide you with information.
I'll remember that the next appointment, I'll tell you that right now.
Hold on, let me finish. If you want to inquire, if you want to have an investigation, you guys can start that. The question is, what legal bounds do you have? What jurisdiction do you have? And if the issue is, hold on, if you want to investigate a particular member and the appointment of that, let me finish, of the particular member, that's something different than investigating the board, which you have no jurisdiction.
Timmy, I understand all that. We have no right to investigate. That's HUD, that's their money, it's
You
our
don't have
money.
any right- you have no right to investigate the board.
Right.
I'm not saying you don't have the right to investigate a particular member whom this council appointed for rescission purposes only.
The only thing I'm saying is, we appointed them thinking they would do a good job, and you never know. Most of our appointments, or it's a lot of our appointments, they abide by the council's feelings because they know we represent the constituents, and they're put there by us because we can't be everywhere. We make too much money now, 13 cents a day. So, I understand all that. But my concern is, when they shrug your nose when a council member asks them, and I made numerous calls, not to mention any names, personal calls, I want this, I want that, I'm hearing this, nothing. So, to me, that's a slap in the face to my appointment, my vote for his appointment, or whether I voted for him or not. I'm just saying, if we appoint, we can rescind. That's my opinion.
But
That's
you
all
can't-
I'm bringing up.
all right, but
I don't
you
want to
can't-
investigate what they did with the money.
You can't rescind unless you investigate and you have grounds to have a hearing before the town council to rescind your vote. You just can't rescind because of what has been heard, what has been
Well,
said,
let us
what
know
has been
what we
stated.
can do.
There has to be an
And then I'll-
investigation.
Like I said, I'll be like Ed, I'm only one person.
So are they being investigated now by the FBI?
Oh, can't it just from the.
We can't, Bert, I can't let you yell from the
There's no,
crowd, but
I can,
Well, through the Freedom of Information Act, can't you get some?
Bert, if we ask the federal government right now if they're investigating, know what they'll say?
What?
Cannot comment either way. All right? So if we go to the state police, they'll say the same thing. If we go to the local police, they'll say the same thing. If we go to HUD, HUD won't even respond to us because we have no, the town council has no authority even to ask the question.
I've personally, and if everybody remembers an email that came out that probably infuriated me, and that's what caused a lot of headache last year. And me going to their meetings because I was told about certain things and I wanted to listen to it. And then I reached out to HUD and we have nothing, no bounds, no boundaries to get involved. We can't do anything.
And
You
we,
know,
we
it's-
saw last summer, when Josh was here, how much we can count on HUD. I mean, they did an audit and they gave good grades. Right? And if you were here at that time, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. You know, so who's watching the chicken
They're
house?
afraid because-
HUD is supposed to, by statute, I would think.
Ed, this is a small,
Obviously,
I
they don't
need you to
have the
come up to the
manpower
mic.
to do a good job.
listen, this is a small community, and like I was told, if they open it up here, what happened in New York, what happened in New Jersey, what happened in Washington, they're afraid because most of them, you know as well as I do, Ed, don't do their jobs.
Well,
Obviously,
all I know, this time they obviously didn't know. They missed something.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of this
You know it and
information
I
was
know it.
hidden.
Listen, be
None of the
careful,
numbers were
None
hidden.
of it was.
guys, be
No, numbers were
careful,
there.
be careful how you're stating your opinion.
That's my opinion.
Bert Monahan, Monterey Drive, Mr. President and council members and the town manager. How was Channel 10 to get in there and get that information and put it on TV last night?
Good question.
How were they able to do that?
Because somebody provided Channel 10 with documentation and didn't provide them with the full story. So
And it
Channel
sh-
10 ran with it because it appears, without any other investigation, without any facts, without any conclusion, that somehow the accounting, somehow the bookkeeping, something isn't up to snuff, which means taxpayers' dollars are being wasted or being misspent. But there's been no investigation, there's no conclusions. No one's filed anything regarding a report saying that a particular person or a particular board member or a chairman or anyone did anything wrong yet.
Bert, I'll give
There
you-
was a
I'll
young,
give you-
there
Bert,
was
I'll
a
give
young
you an
man
example.
on that show last night, and he's the one that rang the bell. And
Well-
it showed him on television last night.
Well, Bert,
That's a member of the
I just
board.
want to give you a heads up.
Was he a member of the board?
He's a member of the board
He
now.
is.
Was he the chairman of the board?
Was.
At one time,
Was.
yes.
He
No,
was-
oh my God.
He was ousted. Last,
No, he didn't want it. He wasn't ousted. He wasn't ousted.
Is he still
didn't have
in?
the votes anyway.
well,
'cause
he didn't
of
have the
course
vote,
not.
so he was ousted.
No, he
If
brought
I don't
up
have the
before
votes, I'm
vote,
ousted. I mean,
Before
it's-
he voted, that he
But
was
again,
not going to
Bert,
rerun
let me just clarify
for chairman.
something. Last night, again, this is the press. They're saying Harborside, East Greenwich. They said it 4 or 5 times. The receipt doesn't say Harborside, East Greenwich. It says Harborside, Martha's Vineyard. So they can't even get the receipt. They got the receipts in front of them, and they don't even give the right information. And by the way, that's a yearly meeting that nationally happens, that all the housing authorities across the country show up at.
And I have not, I'm trying to validate this, and it hasn't been yet, but that individual that was on the TV attended that in Martha's Vineyard.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know, well, you don't think so?
Well, he told me he had to carry somebody, so I imagine he did
Oh.
go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who goes.
No, no,
But
I
again,
don't
if
either,
you,
but it seems
if you don't, Angelo, if you don't like it, you don't eat it.
I mean, it's just the
You know,
rest,
if
the
you-
rest of the story.
I'm
folks.
against it, but I'm gonna go
That is
eat
the
it.
rest of the
They don't
story.
get any money from us, do they?
$25 a month.
Yeah.
No, we even have to pay for those
These are
people?
good people.
They pay $25 a month.
We're paying that?
We pay you $25.
No, I know that.
So you're a good person, they're good people. But we do pay for them, yes. $25 a month.
Why don't the feds give us some money for them? We
It
can't,
was something
we
that
don't
was
have
put in our
any say.
charter years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And they haven't got an
I think
increase.
they're going on trips and parties, so that'll compensate that.
Well, that's what was said at restaurants.
It's an old
and everything.
joke, let's
But
face
so-
it.
so who-
People
who's
wanted-
empl-
people
so who-
wanted to be on that
David,
board.
whose employees are they?
Yes.
Are they
So
our
that they could
employees
go on
over
a free
there?
trip.
They're not employees. And their employees are total, even though they're part of the union, their employees.
Yeah.
They're part of the same union that we have, but they're not part of our union. Same local, but not town employees. They're paid from federal.
Same union, different local.
Okay.
And for the record, I did call.
Unbelievable.
Well, and for the record, I did call Sheldon Whitehouse's office to give him a heads up, so he was aware. I talked to George Cavallo and let him know that this investigation or report was coming out, so that way they weren't blindsided
That's
either.
where the bill came from.
Yeah, I mean, I got all the bills, I didn't look through everything.
Brian?
For your example, Tim, do you bill me for every question?
Maybe.
And are you billing me for this question?
Well, he's billing you for this question because he's here.
Brian, unequivocally, no,
Yeah,
but I will start.
yeah.
No.
Just your question.
I found the loophole, so to go on record, I text the solicitor if I have any questions. So those are microtransactions.
But
Why is this turned to you?
It always turns to the legal fees.
well, you did tell me you wanted to go work for them after you heard their legal fees.
I guess we won't have to talk about it at the end of the meeting.
$500,000, I guess.
So that was a long topic, but the only other thing on my report,
Anything else is?
Anything else, Mr. Manager?
the only other thing on my report is just to let you know that Senator Reed's office called, and Senator Reed will be visiting on Thursday. He's going to come sit down with me in the morning. Then we're going to walk up Main Street. We're going to visit with Centerville. We're going to visit with Garras. We're going to stop by so he can see the Garras and,
Did he
congratulate
close?
them.
He sold
No,
the
he's
building.
open. He's open.
He sold the building.
Oh, 'cause somebody called me today and told me Garrett's was closed. They couldn't rent a tuxedo.
I went in
Because
there.
prom season's coming.
I went in there
he's right.
the
That's what I
other
mean.
day,
I was
and
there
there were
2 weeks ago. That's why.
there were 20 teenage boys in there,
You
you know,
should stop
geared
at
up.
GBT's too.
Okay.
I'll
do
let
that.
Them know now.
40 years? Is it 40 or 50? 41 years?
We're going to stop at, also going to be stopping at the Healthy Equity Zone. We're going to stop at Arctic Playhouse, and then the Senior Center. So they're not open yet. Oh, the Wiener Joint, yeah. So I thought you said the Wing Joint. They're not open yet because it's a morning trip. But if anybody is around and would like to join us,
I think
it's in
Jackson,
the morning.
he's been, the Senator's been there. I took him there to the Halloween place.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
he,
2 weeks in the hospital.
Yeah. Would you email us that? So I can-
Any other
Yes.
questions for
Try to
the
put it in
manager?
the
Just
Sure.
send them a message, let them know Gary's is not closed.
Fred, what time is that? Starting
They arrive at my office at 9. We begin their tour at 9:30-ish. So we start at Centerville Bank. We'll be there just shortly after 9:30.
Any other questions for the town manager? Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Finance update?
Uh-oh. Bad news.
Not always, but sometimes. First of all, I just want to mention that the tax sale, we will be having the tax sale on Thursday at 10 a.m. There are approximately 50 properties at about $260,000, $270,000 that could be potentially collected at the tax sale. So property number is down a little bit this year, but we're hopeful that, we'll raise some additional revenues for the back taxes, obviously.
Can you send us that list?
Sure. Okay. As previously requested by the council, and one of the things that Fred and I wanted to start to do, I do have a financial update for the quarter that just ended in March. So I'm going to hand that out, and we can talk about it briefly.
Thank you.
Okay, the first page is a summary that I actually put together in Excel based on the reports from the system. I broke it down into categories or into the departments so you could see how departments are running, the budget amount versus the fiscal year to date through March 31st. I also provided a column that has a percent remaining, being that there's 1 quarter left, as well as a projected amount for this year, and whether or not there's a projected surplus or deficit within that department or that category. The numbers that are here are reflected is in the report that was filed with the Division of Municipal Finance as required on a quarterly basis. So we're back in line with getting those reports to the state timely. I've also updated our OpenGov website so that the public can actually see how we're running, and I'm going to continue to do that with this update as well. The back pages are the detail line by line as far as the departments. That's a report that you've previously seen from me. It gives much more detail, but I wanted to develop a summary so we could talk high level and address or discuss some of the departments if the council did feel it was something you did want to discuss. But in a nutshell, as of right now, I'm projecting that we could have potentially about $177,000 deficit at the end of the year, depending on how collections go, whether it's the tax sale and or the 60-day collection number that we're allowed to accrue back once we do have the audit. Those numbers are very difficult to project in that 60-day window, but I would be hopeful, and we will be aggressive with collections so that we could potentially, end the year at a zero deficit or surplus.
Once the fiscal year technically ends, there's still a 60 days.
Correct.
to count that money.
Correct. There's a 60-day window for the July and August collections of back taxes. We're allowed to accrue it back to this fiscal year and recognize it as revenue.
But it has to be from the payment. Correct. This year to be any money.
I'm sorry?
It has to be payments designated towards those bills.
Correct. It has to be back taxes. It can't be the current taxes.
Previous years, too.
Previous years. Anything previous to
Correct.
the current year taxes. So we're hopeful that that will be something that does yield. We were fortunate a couple of years ago where Royal Mills, we had a huge payment by them during that 60-day window. I don't know of any particular taxpayer right now that has anything that substantial, but we would hope that even the tax sale itself could boost some of their collections right now, and then see how that 60-day number will actually will come into play. So again, this is something that I will be continuing to do on a quarterly basis. We are required to file it with the Division of Municipal Finance within 25 days of the end of the quarter. So my hope would be, and my plan would be, to have probably the second meeting of the month following the end of the quarter is when I would present something to you. For the June report, it will be unaudited numbers, because obviously the audit will commence after that. And then once we actually have the audit, that would give you the final numbers for June. But I will at least give you something once June does end, so you can actually have some numbers at least have an idea of where we stand at the end of the fiscal year.
So, John, I'm looking at the projected surplus,
Mhm.
deficit. You have, and Marion, you probably can answer this, you have the town clerk at 50,000 deficit, human resources at $39,000 deficit.
Town clerk, that's actually on those are the revenues associated with those departments.
So we've come in the 3 quarters, we have, come in at 75%, so I don't know why we're predicting a deficit when this is a really busy time of year, May through.
And that's the other thing too, different times of year are busier, so, but,
Correct.
so we have to base it on a yearly, so
So
the
what
projections could be down.
Why would we see almost a $40,000 human resource deficit?
Well, that's the position. That's the funding for the fact that we had discussed previously that the HR director was originally funded a half a year for this year,
Okay,
and that obviously didn't happen because of the,
just ask.
the change. That's the biggest thing there. And you can see, Department of Public Works, thankfully, even with the winter the mild winter we had, we did have some savings there. So again, I'll continue to, look at the year end and see how we're running and give you some numbers in June as well. Okay. Any questions on that, feel free to even, shoot me an email if there's any particular details or any detailed report you want to see with any transactions or anything of that nature. All right, now on to some other news related to the tax rate classification. I gave a quick briefing prior to the meeting. Fred did as well, and we handed out a couple of pieces of paper that actually show you some updated support sheets. I did provide a report to the Division of Municipal Finance at the State of Rhode Island as required. Each year with our tax rates, we do have to provide them with a disclosure indicating the changes from one rate to another. However, when I presented that to them, they do not feel that the town has the jurisdiction to be able to create a separate code for the owner-occupied two-family houses, as we'd previously discussed. They feel that the Rhode Island general law that actually is in place right now actually limits the classifications and would not allow us. So they cannot, based on the previous disclosure that I provided or we provided and the council discussed last week, they cannot grant us their approval for that. I've spoke with the solicitor today, and I think Tim may want to go over some potential options.
First and foremost, because there can't be a dollar amount associated with what the Division of Municipal Finance is not going to support, I can't really give you a cost-benefit analysis about whether or not there's a risk to take it to court. But what I can tell you is that the way this was drafted, and that was the last year I was in the General Assembly, it was clear from the legislative intent to allow West Warwick, as one particular community, to have all these different types of tax classifications for their properties. And even though there's a clause up top in the general paragraph that says West Warwick may adopt the following separate and distinct tax classifications, if you go to subsection B, number 1, it clearly states single-family homes, condominiums, residential real estate consisting of no more than 2 dwelling units, and then there's a separate clause in the parenthetical that says one of which is owner-occupied. Now, when we were putting this together back in 2010, we couldn't put one which is owner-occupied, one which is not owner-occupied, because it would confuse you, because you have 2 families, and if you put 1 and 1, the presumption would be you have one's owner-occupied downstairs, and one that's not owner-occupied upstairs or side by side. So when we put this in, the whole question was to allow West Warwick to have a different classification simply for 2-family homes, whether or not they were owner-occupied or whether or not they were non-owner-occupied, and this is what Ledge Council came up with. Now, I gave that opinion yesterday to Rudy Falcone of the state. I guess they sat down today with a few of their people and Suzanne Greshner and informed John that they were not going to support it. Therefore, if the town goes forward with this different classification, the ad cannot have the statement that the state is supporting it.
Correct.
Now, there is a question of whether or not it would be challenged at a later date. And again, because I can't give you a cost-benefit analysis because I don't know what the expense would be or the cost would be, because I think there's minimal risk. And there's really no mechanism in writing to challenge the state unless you want to go through the administrative procedures process, and you'll have an answer in about 5 years. So I really don't know how to advise, because I don't know what the dollar amount would be if a taxpayer was successful in litigation. And from what John and Fred have told me, this is really minimal dollars to shift over the 7 or 10 cents to a different category.
Correct. What it basically means is if we kept the structure, the existing structure intact like last year, and had the two-family owner occupied with the resident or the single or the primary residence, instead of 2580 as the council, as we previously discussed, that would need to be 2586. So it is still a reduction of last year's rate. However, it's not as much of a reduction as we previously indicated, because we were looking to shift, or the council was looking to shift the two-family only occupied to that rate $1 higher than the single family. So again, we would still have a reduction to that single-family residential, primary residential tax rate, which would help offset any, potential assessments like we talked about, but it's just not as much of a reduction as we originally indicated, because we can't have that additional class. So at this point, I do have to either rework the disclosure and send it back to municipal finance and request their approval, or, what Tim had mentioned about modifying the notice, and which is posted in the Kent County Times, and needs to be posted in the Kent County Times on Saturday of the coming week, of this week actually, so that it meets the 10-day requirement prior to the financial town meeting. So at this point, we're just looking for some, input and some guidance, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Well, from what Tim's saying, there's minimal risk. I'd just as soon go with no risk and make the change.
So we can't do it this year.
Right. And again, like the exemptions, which I know we're going to talk about later, but we can also, as if we do decide, if the council does decide to form the tax rate commission, this is something that we could, could address then, and as well as adopt any documents that we would need to provide to the state to request that they do in fact change the general law to reflect what the town is looking to do. So hope is not all lost. It's unfortunately was not expected, and I don't know what else I can say other than that. I read it, I'm not a lawyer, but May, to me, seemed to think that we did have, and the council did have the flexibility, but the state feels differently, and ultimately it's their approval that we need in order to, say as such within the notice. So. Okay? Dave, don't get too happy.
They're in our pockets again.
As I said in the last meeting, I think I received 10 or 11 calls on this matter, specifically from the East Main Village and Aberdeen Street. They brought it up to me, and they were like, because they weren't upset about the dollar, the 96 cents. They were upset because the Times ran a story with the initial rate that you gave us with the shell shock of $6 and change per 1,000. So they were very nervous because they're seeing their taxes go up $1,400 to $1,800 in 1 year's time. They have all the right to call me and be very upset, and and I told them I feel for them because I'd be in the same boat. And I've never hid that. I said from day one I'm in that category. And with that being said, I mean, they're going to kind of, when I do my return calls this week, they're going to be very happy with what I have to tell them. I think I was one of the biggest wards with that. I know many families that have mother and father on one side and a child and a spouse on the other side. And, it's really one family, but they're separated by one wall. But it happens in my ward a lot.
Okay, so I'll modify the disclosure to fit the
Yeah,
current structure.
We're mandated to not do it by the state. So I think the purpose was we were going to gradually, over the years, try to make it fairer, so that the single family is not subsidizing a two-family that potentially has income. Not all the time, but potentially has income. And it was never, I think we started off at a point, and I think I said, until we get the data, we're not going to set anything. And obviously, $6 would have been crazy. That would have been too much for a person to absorb. So I think David, you were the one that said to be fair, we should phase it in.
Right.
Six-year phase is, I
Yeah.
think, what we ended up going
Right.
with before the state shut it down, because that would have been $1 per year, which
Yeah.
equates to what, approximately $145.
Yeah, so it's been very, very gradual. But, you know, so be it, that's it.
Okay. Any other questions from? Okay. All right, thank you.
Ward reports?
Ward 5? You know your roads are getting done.
Roads are getting done in Ward 5. Royal Drive and Hathaway were cold planed. There's reclaimed, yeah. And they've got the base pavement down. Greenbush Road has been cold planed. East Greenwich Avenue, so far, what I've seen of East Greenwich is
Just the section's going to be reclaimed, that really bad.
really bad section, yeah. So, what's the time frame to finish? The end of next week? I'm thinking at the pace they're going, they're going at it, yeah.
You can't pave when it's raining a lot, but you can, as long as it's just misting or something, you're fine.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case over the next few days. I've had a few residents call me concerned if their road was going to get done or not, and now funds are limited because of the reclaiming, so we'll have to wait and see. And that's all that's going on in 5.
Thank you. 4?
Roads aren't being done, but there's white paint on the roads that says Cardi, so the phones are ringing, saying, is it true, is it true, is it true? And thankfully, the answer is yes, it is true, coming soon. The only question I had, I'm just waiting on an email back from Dave about putting in for a couple other roads, and then the question I had was, I keep bringing it up, Kent County Water is doing a lot of mains in the Ward 4 area, specifically Quoit Avenue, which runs north to south, and west is the area that we know that they're working on. It's the 2014 B list, which they're finally working on now. One of the things that I noticed is somebody is doing test pits on Quoit Avenue and east. So all those roads ranging from Lockwood to Ontario to some of those other roads, what's making me nervous is Cochrane is one of the roads that is currently, we have a lot of stuff going on there, you know, the repave project as well as some of the green infrastructure drainage projects. So I just want to make sure that there isn't a Kent County Water Authority 2016 or 2018 B proposed that has one of my roads that's getting repaved listed.
We sent both Kent County and National Grid the list of roads, and we called and verified and spoke with them
Okay.
after we got their email response, and we said, are you sure?
Yeah.
And so,
Test pits don't just mean Kent County Water,
Yeah.
so I mean maybe
Yep. Nope.
Verizon,
well,
National-
Verizon shouldn't be, National Grid maybe.
AGI, who does gas mains, is on Tampa Street. I thought
Yep.
it was Kent County Water. It's actually
It's
AGI.
gas, yep.
So I don't know what kind of communication, you know, is going on.
We got the list from National Grid of the roads that they're doing right now,
Okay.
and I don't, but we'll double check.
I just want to be super
Yep.
sure, you know.
I appreciate the update.
Yeah. And then other than that, just waiting to hear back on those road prices.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
3?
Pretty quiet. I posted on one of the, on Facebook, the listing from Kent County Water Authority. They are purging their lines. They're, now, what do they call it? Not purging. They're flushing their lines. And I put on, online, the one that you had sent to us, I had received it already from Kent County Water Authority. So it's important that, you know, as many people know about that. It'll limit the phone calls.
Disturbing when you find out when you turn on the.
Right, and there's brown water there. They tell you to take the cold water and flush it out until the brown disappears. Not your hot water, but your brown water, because you could mess up your heater if you do it that way. Also, we do, David, David, like you, Ward 3, especially up in the top of the hill, Kent County Water Authority is going to be doing quite a few streets up there, which is good. I don't think there's too many that have already been done, but they're going, well, the only big one is they're going to do Earl Street all over again, which I wasn't very happy about. I could have saved $115,000 if I had done that. But it is what it is. They're going to give us a new one. And that's it. there has been a telephone pole on New London Avenue, right before it gets to Legris, going toward Legris, going south. On the right-hand side, there's an old telephone pole there. The new telephone pole is up against this property, up against the fence. And there's a hole there. I don't know if they started to dig the hole, whatever, and it's very dangerous. There's no markers on it. There's nothing on it. It's probably maybe 5-6 feet across, and it's indented like it's sunk, like a sinkhole almost.
So New London and
No.
Leakers, whereabouts
Yep.
is the pole?
Going on New London, on the right-hand side, you can't miss it. I mean, again, it looks like they started to dig next to the old pole, and all the asphalt's gone, and there's a sinkhole there.
So heading down the side that we did the work on, or the other side?
No, the other, I'm sorry, before Legris. Yeah, on the north side
Okay,
of Legris.
okay.
So, and again, it's been there for quite a while.
I'll George and.
Yeah. Yeah, that's their MO. So I'd like to get that, at least that hole fixed.
Yep.
So, I mean, at night, very easily, somebody could trip in that hole. So I'd like to get that fixed. I guess that's it. Again, I invite everybody to attend the town financial meeting on May 17th, and then the vote on the 19th, Thursday. Any questions you have of the budget? Is this online now?
Yeah.
It's online? All right, so www.westwarwickri.org. Visit it, and if you still have some questions, please call the town hall. You can call me if you want. Doesn't matter. But we should be able to answer them for you. I think it's a good budget. As I said before, it's not perfect, but I think it's a very good budget. And we have some exciting things also to talk about that are coming up now on the possible senior exemption that I think we all want.
Two. It's me.
Microphone, Dave?
Just a heads up, if anybody got to see the amazing tree that was coming down from the Crompton area, from, the heck's the name of that street? Sydney Street?
Yeah.
Ward 4.
Came from Ward 4, and I want to thank the O'Connell family. I know he left already, but for donating the tree. They got to watch it leave their yard, and if anybody's seen, it's a machine that basically wraps itself around the tree, trenches out the tree, pulls it up, and they were able to drive it down the street. It was actually ironically planted, I don't think it was done on purpose, but planted on Arbor Day in Phoenix. And, you know, it was kind of funny because when we cut down the old tree, we got the one finger salute, we got some nasty things said to us, and it felt good to actually hear people tooting and waving at us while we're putting the new tree in. Thanks to Tony Duffy, Dave Lombari, Kendra came down. You know, we got to spend about 2 hours spreading 10 yards of loom, filling in the tree. I want to thank the fire department for watering it the first 2 days. I know it was kind of, we had a business owner, Phoenix Square Diner, willing to run her hose across the street if need be, but they needed it to be watered for a couple of weeks. And she was willing to run her hose, use her water, obviously pay for that water, and possibly sewage, because it'll probably get built on that too. But they're very excited down there to see the tree. If anybody gets a chance, take a ride by, take a look at it. Ray Silva Field has been completed. I know we're waiting for lights. We do not have lights yet. I know Duffy's got the electrician going down there this week, but nobody has played on that field yet. It's been 2 weeks since it's been complete, but it's there. The last thing that I just want to bring up is, you know, I brought it up last meeting, and, you know, we as a council worked very hard on the budget along with every department head and employees, and I know everybody got involved. And, you know, seems to be a very negative push towards this budget from individuals. And I'm very concerned about the budget. You know, one position has created many people to push to vote down the budget. Well, I think as a council and as town employees and everywhere in the public, to see that there's no tax increase based upon the tax rate, that we need to make sure we're out there supporting this budget. This is a budget that, you know, was part of the 5-year plan. And listen, plans, budgets, anybody who's been on here more than 2 years, and I think everybody has, knows that budgets and plans change every year. We don't, just because it says in paper, this is the plan, doesn't mean we're not going to try to improve the town. We're not going to just sit back and let the town run itself. Everybody here has a stake in this town. Whether you're an employee, a resident, a town councilman, town manager, finance director, department head, we're all trying to make this town a better place to live every single day. And, you know, I'm just getting reports that people are going to be trying to vote this down, and, you know, I just hope that the council and the general public understands what we are trying to do in the community. There's so much positive that's happened this year and going to continue happening. You know, you look at the parks, they're drastically improving. You know, you go down to River Point Park, it's one of the most beautiful facilities in the state right now. You know, and once the skate park's done, we have 2 of the best ball fields in the state. We have a state-of-the-art basketball court. You know, we're still waiting to get a swing set down there, and then you look, Phoenix, you know, new Christmas tree, new beginning. We're looking at windmills, and there's so much I'm not even mentioning, but there's so much positive going on in the town right now. To have one position in a budget try to destroy the town is crazy. So please, support the budget, give us your support, and let us do our job as we were elected to do. And that's all I got to say, so thank you, everybody. Angelo?
Just the roads getting done. I guess they started with yours, Matt, didn't they?
Across the street.
They didn't do yours?
Not yet.
That's supposed to be done. I didn't even know they were in Ward 1 till I got a couple of phone calls. I thought they were starting in 5 First, East Greenwich Avenue. So when I heard they're spreading all over the place, I mean, we're very fortunate in Ward 1. The last $1 million we had, and between that and Kent County Water, doing about 35 roads there, 15 of them that I already did. It could have been 45. But I'm very grateful. This time we're probably going to put an end to the worst roads. And probably 85% of the roads would be done in Ward 1. So I'm glad to see them spreading their help around and working fast as they always do. I mean, it's amazing. You see one day there's no one there, and the next day the whole road's done. But that's what we get with professionals, and that's all I have for Ward 1.
Thank you, Angelo.
Senior exemption resolution sponsored by Town Council. Whereas the Town Council resolves to support an amendment to Rhode Island General Laws 44-3-13-1, wherein the current exemption of persons over the age of 65 shall be amended from $170 to an amount up to $250.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that resolution.
Yeah, we're gonna have to touch though.
Moving second. Just to go over something real quick, I had a brief conversation with Councilman Giroux after he called me Friday afternoon to get this put on the agenda at 4:15 in the afternoon.
Well, it's because we were told that it would be impossible to get it
Yeah,
passed,
that's-
and
and
after
that-
talking to our rep.
and that's what I
at noon,
explained.
It's not impossible.
But the rep actually called, Rep Nunes called me today, and I know, Ed, you and I had a brief conversation. He's personally gonna change it to the assessment amount to $10,000, up to $10,000.
Right, good.
So that way there, but he just wanted us to have a resolution matching that. So if we want, so tonight I would suggest that we amend this from a on the resolution from a dollar amount to an assessment amount. Because he's not gonna make it, and I also told him, he's gonna make it an assessment up to $10,000. So that gives the council the right this year to say if it's gonna be 7,000 or the full 10. But, he's got it all drawn up. He actually submitted it tonight, but he's actually gonna submit again tomorrow, changing to up to 10,000.
Good, good.
Based upon the conversations we had here last meeting.
Yeah.
And conversations that we've had in the past.
Yep.
So,
And that would bring it up, the 10,000 would bring it up, I believe, to 285, what?
well,
Now it's
260.
258.60, right, 258.60. And that way.
which is actually $8.60 more
And so
than
if the
what.
assessment changes, that would go up too.
So again,
Sort of like a built-in COLA.
and that was one of the discussions that we had, I know Councilman Giroux had.
Yeah.
We had a discussion over the phone that this will go with the sign of the times. So in 20 years from now, if taxes are $35 on 1,000, the exemption would be $350. So we don't have to keep, councils, we're just protecting other councils, they don't have to keep coming back to this every 10 years. It'll be one set amount, and it'll fluctuate with the times. If taxes go down, and I hope they do, but if they go down, their exemption goes down. If taxes go up, their exemption goes up.
Yeah.
So do I have an motion to amend?
Motion to amend?
To what?
Okay, let me get my glasses on, all right.
Yeah, make a motion to amend, whereas the town council resolves to support an amendment to Rhode Island General Law 44-313-1, wherein the current exemption of persons over the age of 165 shall.
No, 65.
65. Over the age of 65.
No exemptions.
So we'll save some money on that one.
Hey, Ed, you can apply.
Shall be amended from $170
No, I'm 65, should I?
to an assessed, to an assessed amount up to $10,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, public comment, Bert, you have to come to the mic. Bert, you have to come to the, Bert, I have to do it to you, I hate to do it to you.
Bert, come to the mic. Bert, come to the mic.
You're gonna have to get a wireless mic.
You are on camera, and I like,
Bert, you know what they said?
Yeah.
Bert,
You walk up, you need some music.
hey, Bert, they said if we make him get up long enough, he's not gonna keep talking.
ta-da.
For years, that exemption for the seniors and the veterans were also the same. Have you given any consideration for the veterans to up theirs too?
Yes, we're looking at veterans next year.
Next year? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think Brian wanted to include it. It might be a little bit more that our budget can handle.
But it's looking better for
this-
next year?
For this year, but next year, definitely.
And Councilman Giroux, and also Councilman Giroux, it was regulated by the state, but Councilman Giroux also looked at the senior exemption, and there was a large percentage that actually get both.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very large
At
percentage.
170, we were one of the lowest in the entire state.
Is that right?
Well, I've always said,
Yeah.
we're doing, in the last few years, we've done more than we ever have before that affect the seniors.
Yeah.
But let's
Well,
help them out in the pocketbook a
This
little
is a
bit.
nice exemption, and it's going to take effect immediately,
Yeah.
or? Yeah,
Well-
that's great.
Yes. Yeah, we're.
Anybody up here
planning on it.
65?
Ed.
I already said that. I already said that.
Hey, recuse yourself.
Well, I just asked our attorney, should I
So you
recuse myself
figure-
for being 65? I mean,
You figure next year will be the time then, when the vets will get
Ed
it?
said he was
We're gonna
gonna
look at
give
it for
it, he
next
was
year,
gonna
yes.
give it to the second oldest, me.
Because, Bert, we do have to go to the state for that.
Yeah,
We
okay.
have to get we're already trying to push this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Upcoming appointments,
61.
Wait a minute, I know. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
upcoming appointments, West Warwick Public Library Trustees, 1 3-year term. Juvenile Hearing Board, 2 with a term to expire on 12/2015. Recreation Committee member, 1 Ward 3 Planning Board, 1 5-year term. Board of Tenant Affairs, 2 public for 2-year term. Ty Towers with a term to expire 4/2016. West Warwick Manor, term to expire 4/2016. Patuxent River Authority, 1 3-year term. Board of Assessment, 1 3-year term. Zoning Board of Review, 1 5-year term.
No.
Public comments.
Any comment? Any public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Haven't done that one in a while. Weird. No idea.